What are you afraid of? I was asked this question a few weeks ago by somebody who was a complete stranger to me about an hour before she asked it. But when that question came out of her mouth, we were in the middle of this impromptu but much needed deep conversation. You see, this stranger understood me almost immediately, so much so that I told her that she reminded me of my own sisters, which is what makes what I'm about to say all that much more impressive. She asked me what I was afraid of because we had talked about my life, about how I got to where I was, and about what my next move was going to be. And she could hear the passion in my voice, but she could also hear that I was being held back by fear. I just I just didn't realize it yet, but I do now. And that's why this podcast exists. There's something special about deep human to human conversation, something I think is lacking in the world that we live in today, which is probably why we all feel the way that we do. You know that feeling. But in order to have that deep conversation, we have to be comfortable with being vulnerable, something that is inherently uncomfortable to do. So allow me to go first. Maybe understanding what I've been so afraid of will help you process what's keeping you stuck. So here it is. I'm afraid that if I give my full effort, it might lead to something great, which will eventually cause my heart to be crushed all over again when I inevitably lose it all. My brain is doing everything it can to protect me from being hurt in the way that I was hurt after my divorce. But I do want to be clear about something important because I spent years of my life trying to understand the deeper impact this was having on me. And what I learned is that this fear of not wanting to invest my whole self in something because I'll eventually have my heart crushed isn't actually the entire point. It's not it's not the whole story. It's just a symptom of something much more important. See, I thought for a long time that I was afraid of failure. At least that's what it looked like on the surface. But in the years since my divorce, I've come to understand something really rather important. The end of my marriage should never be considered a failure at all. I loved being married. And that's not to say things were perfect. I know I wasn't perfect, but I tried to make it work. And it all fell apart anyway. But that journey taught me so much about myself, about love, about trust, about the risk of giving your entire heart to someone and how beautiful it can be if they give theirs back to you. The work that I've done on myself since then, the lessons that I have learned after committing to another woman for over half a decade before that relationship would eventually come to an end too, and my willingness to sit in this vulnerability to better understand what it is that I'm feeling has made me a better man. It's made me a better human. So, how can that be failure? It can't. This wound isn't about failure. It's about loss. I'm not afraid that I failed at my marriage because I didn't. I'm afraid that even when I give everything I have towards something that I want, even when I grow and learn and become better, I can still lose something that matters so deeply to me. The fear isn't what if I'm not good enough? It's what if I am good enough and I still lose it anyway? And that's a completely different kind of fear because I can't protect myself from loss by being better or trying harder. Loss is just a part of the deal when you love something deeply, when you commit fully, when you invest everything in something that matters. You can do everything right and still lose. And that's not a flaw in your effort, not even a little bit. It's just the nature of caring about things beyond your control. So let me tell you a little bit about what that fear has been doing to me without me even fully realizing it. My brain did what brains do when something devastating happens. It created a protective cocoon around me. And the lesson that my brain learned was that if I give everything I have and still lose, that kind of pain it's unbearable. So my brain's only solution is to never go all in like that ever again. To be overly cautious about every decision I need to make, especially decisions that cause major change in my life. To avoid jumping blindly into something that I believed in because I have faith that it'll succeed. No, I can't do that. I need to know what the outcome is going to be to make sure that I won't get hurt. Well, I'm sorry, me. That's not how any of this works. It's no wonder that I felt like I've been stuck on some hamster wheel, running as fast as I can, but going absolutely nowhere. I guess I've just been a little bit caught in the middle, stuck between allowing my soul to find what it needs and being too afraid to take any real chances. Which is rather odd if you know anything about me because I've never lived my life that way. I can do anything I want to do. That's never been a question. I've been successful at pretty much everything I've actually committed to in my life. And that's not to say that I haven't had failures, but when I put my foot down and say that this is what I want, I've found great success in life because of it. But something changed in me. I've been choosing not to go all in on anything new, not because I can't, but because I'm constantly calculating the risk. I'm moving, I'm doing things, but I'm strategically withholding my full effort. And I've been telling myself that I've been doing that because I've learned better, that I've learned from my past. When in reality, I'm terrified to put myself out there in any real kind of capacity. And I know I'm not the only one. This fear can manifest its way in many different ways. You can find yourself giving every logical reason why now isn't quite the right time to launch this podcast or reach out to someone who you have feelings towards or apply for that new job you know you crush. It's feeling genuine passion for something, but only letting it out about halfway. Because if we only give about 70% of our effort, we can tell ourselves when we eventually fail that it's because we didn't really try. We get to protect our ego and our heart at the same time. But we also never actually get what we want. Now, as for me, I don't need anyone else to hold me back. I am perfectly capable of sabotaging myself. And it's not even dramatic when it happens. It's quiet, it's subtle. Most people wouldn't even notice. But that stranger we talked about at the beginning of the show, that woman who I said felt like my sister, she noticed immediately. When I was talking to her about what was next for me, she heard that passion, but she also heard it being held back by something. She saw somebody who has proven that they could do whatever they set their mind to, but who wasn't actually doing it. And she asked me the one question that cut through the rationalization that I had been trying to tell myself. And sometimes you need someone who's completely outside of your situation to name what's actually happening because you're too close to it and it's too difficult for you to clearly see it yourself. And if that's you, yes, you, I'm looking at you right in the eyes right now, and I'm asking you, what are you so afraid of? Now, don't worry. You don't have to have the answer to this question right now, but let me just leave you with a little helpful advice. See, here's what I started to do to better understand myself. When you catch yourself holding yourself back from a project or a conversation, a relationship, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Ask yourself this: am I being strategic or am I being scared? And be honest with the answer. See, being strategic can be you managing your energy or prioritizing what matters most or making some deliberate choices. While on the other hand, being scared can look like you protecting yourself from some potential pain or trying to avoid being vulnerable or even keeping your options open so you don't have to fully commit to something or someone. And if your honest answer is that you are being scared, which is often the case, then ask yourself this: what would you do if you weren't afraid? Not what would you do if success was guaranteed, because listen to me when I tell you this. Success is never going to be guaranteed. But what would you do if you were willing to risk loss in order to experience something truly beautiful? Because that's the actual choice in front of you. It's a guaranteed small life versus the potential, the possibility of something that actually matters. This isn't about eliminating fear. That fear doesn't just go away, trust me. But you don't want to wait around until you're not scared anymore to fully commit to something. You just have to decide whether the risk of fully caring is actually worth taking. And here's what I'm realizing: staying small on purpose isn't doing me any favors. It's just a different kind of loss because the alternative to risking heartbreak isn't feeling safe. It's never allowing myself, never allowing yourself to feel anything deeply enough for it to really matter. And I'd rather risk losing something beautiful than never experiencing it all. And I wouldn't have said that 5 years ago. I guess that's progress. And you can better believe that this podcast scares the absolute shit out of me, but I'm doing it anyways. I'm putting myself out there. I'm being vulnerable. I'm committing to showing up. And I'm doing it all because I know what I'm capable of when I actually give my full effort to something. And I am so tired of protecting myself from my own potential. The version of me that's been holding back, that's not actually who I am. And I'm not naive anymore. I know exactly what I'm risking, but I'm choosing to do it anyway. And I hope you are too. So here's my final question for you. What would you do if you weren't afraid? Whatever your answer is, I hope you choose to do it anyways, because the version of you on the other side of that decision is so grateful for your bravery. This has been Soul Searching. My name is Landon. See you next time.